Hare Krishna, everyone. A very happy Sunday to all of you. My name is Gopi Gita Schomaker, and here I am with the GBC Strategic Planning Team Facebook broadcast, a very special Radhastami festival with Her Grace Gaura Mani Devi. I am the Vice Principal of TKG Academy, the very first school established by Srila Prabhupada, and Regional Secretary of the Ministry of Education in North America. So Gaura Mani Mataji, she is known to many of you, thousands of devotees and bhakti practitioners worldwide. She celebrates Radhastami every day with her kirtans in Vrindavan Dham, and she is my little sister, but also my spiritual master, my teacher, and my inspiration. And today we're so excited to be celebrating Radhastami together, to speak about Srimati Radharani and her transcendental qualities, and to celebrate Radhastami with all of you. And so we welcome you, and a very warm Hare Krishna to all of you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So can you start us off, Gaura Mani Mataji? Gauru, would you like to share a little bit about what is your attraction to Srimati Radharani? When you were only 16 years old, you had made a decision to all of the family members with our uncle that you were going to live the rest of your life in Vrindavan Dham. This was a shock to all of us. I don't know if you remember this. And Srimati Radharani had stolen your heart, and you ran off to Vrindavan Dham and stayed there for the rest of your life. So can you explain to us who is Srimati Radharani and what is your attraction to her?
I actually remember as a little girl. Well, thank you, first of all. A huge thanks to you, my dear sister, Her Grace Gopi Gita Devi Mataji. I actually remember being so close and so in touch. And I remember as a little girl, whenever we had a feeling in our heart or some trouble, that we would go to our beloved lordships. And as a little girl, that was Radha Kunja Bihari. And I remember having a very strong connection. It was like a mother who was always there for me. And Srimati Radharani was that mother. And when we came to Vrindavan, I was given a beautiful gift of the first time that they had printed those photos of Radhesham. You remember?
Yes.
And our dear His Grace Jagat Guru Prabhu from ISKCON Detroit, he brought those to our room. And I can't remember if it was in Vrindavan or Detroit. And he gave those photos to us. And it was like our first gift or first live a form of the deities of Srimati Radharani in my hands. And when he placed those photos in our hands to show us, it was like a gift. I think that was like a life-changing moment for me. I think we must have been, I want to say 6 or 7, but I think I was actually like 10 or 11, maybe a little older. And it was so magical. And I immediately felt when I received that photo or saw the photo, I felt like she's mine and I'm hers. And that from that day onwards, all I wanted to do was be at her lotus feet. And I still pray for that opportunity to come. And so I had that desire to run to Vrindavan and to live with her in Vrindavan and to be able to see her in Vrindavan. And so I met my husband in Vrindavan and decided if I marry him, if I marry him, I'll get to be in Vrindavan. So Srimati Radharani was the one who made everything in my life perfect. She, looking at having her darshan, taking shelter of her, just gave me, she always, it's weird saying this, but she always said to me, I'm here and I've got you, I'm taking care of you. And even to this day, there's nothing greater than just standing before her at ISKCON Vrindavan at the temple and just surrendering, saying, you're mine and I want to be yours. That's the prayer.
Yes, this is such a beautiful prayer. Radhe Vrindavanadishu Karunamrita Vahini Kripaya Nija Padajja Dasyam Mahyam Pradiyatam. Please accept me as yours and That's such a beautiful, and that's why when I thought of doing the Radhastami Children at Home show, this time I thought there's no one other than Gaura that I can do this with, because you are so dear to Srimati Radharani, and not only are you enveloped in Radhe's mood in Sri Vrindavan Dham, you have developed the Vrajavadhus Kirtan band, and you're traveling all over the world, and your kirtans bringing the holy name of Sri Krishna and Srimati Radharani to far and wide, spreading Gauranga Mahaprabhu's message. It's such an inspiration for so many. So today we're going to focus a little bit for all of you who have joined. Thank you so much for joining. Please do hit that share button. We're going to focus on, as mothers and fathers, what can we learn from the pastimes of Srimati Radharani, from her exemplary pastimes, her exemplary actions, her love? How can we imbibe her mood and learn from her how to develop our children's attraction for Krishna and develop their Krishna consciousness? And so we're going to delve a little bit into a few of her pastimes and share with you, glorify her, and then learn from that really important principles that we should establish in our homes every single day with our children to increase the Sankirtan movement and to increase their connection and their love for Krishna. So let's start off, Gaura? This is such, it's the most joyous thing for me to be associating in Krishna Katha with you. And we can start off with the appearance of Srimati Radharani.
Yes, sure, go for it. I would love to hear that pastime.
There are two stories, right? One of, maybe you can share one and I can share one. You had just shared one really beautiful, the very beginning of where Srimati Radharani has come from.
Sure. So our very beloved Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, who I love to call our very beloved Shyam Sundar, he was sitting on a Ratna Singhasan. He was enjoying the beautiful autumn. It was actually the swing time. And actually in Vrindavan right now, it's the month of Savan, and it's the autumn, the rainy season. The monsoon is going on, and that Julan festival is continuing. And this pastime happened in the spiritual world. So just like the material world is just a tiny little cloud in the entire spiritual world. So you can imagine the greatness, and the intimacy at the same time of Krishna on his beautiful magical throne swing, enjoying. And he had a feeling that I want to feel love. And that's something that we all, conditioned souls or jivas, we all want that same feeling. I talk to my friends, girlfriends, and we're all looking for love. So Krishna, the Supreme Lord, he's the source of that feeling of love. And he said, if I could just feel that deep, pure, transcendental love. And he closed his eyes. And as he felt that love emanated and became a beautiful form of a Devi goddess, the goddess of love, the Ahladini Shakti, the internal energy potency of pleasure, Srimati Radharani. She is the form, Srila Prabhupada says, of divine transcendental love of Krishna. And that was the birth or the beginning of Srimati Radharani's appearance. And she immediately, you can continue, she began running. You want to tell that?
And so Krishna was in this enchanted lake, and this is a beautiful storybook to read to your children.
Yes.
It's Srimati Radharani by Bhakti Purushottam Swami. And in there he describes this beautiful pastime that you're saying. And Krishna was in this enchanted lake with growing flowers, lilies, and roses all around him, the Rasa Mandala area of Vrindavan. And there he had this desire, and she appeared, and she began running towards Krishna, because her whole heart and her whole identity is only one of being united with the Lord and serving Sri Krishna. And so Rasa Mandala, Ra, she came from Rasa Mandala, Ra, and Dhavamanam, she began to run. So Dha, Ra, Dha. is where her name came from. That she was running towards Krishna to enjoy rasa, to enjoy pleasure and love. And so that's the first appearance of story of the appearance of Srimati Radharani. And then we have, go ahead.
So a beautiful bhajan, do you remember singing when we were little? Was Radharani ki jai, Maharani ki jai. You remember? And I remember how much you loved that song, especially the little parts they used to put in. You want to sing it for a minute together?
Sure, you sing one verse and I'll sing one verse.
Okay. Radharani ki jai, Maharani ki jai.
Radharani ki jai, Maharani ki jai.
Bolo bansane wali ki jai, jai, jai.
Bolo barsane wali ki jai, jai, jai.
Radha Rani ki jai, Maharani ki jai. The next part, you remember?
Chote Thakur ki jai, Thakurani ki jai.
Chote Thakur ki jai, Thakurani ki jai.
Chote Thakur ki jai, Thakurani ki jai.
Bolo Vrindavan Rani ki jai, jai, jai.
Radha Rani ki jai, Maharani ki jai.
Bolo barsane wali ki jai, jai, jai.
Bolo barsane wali ki jai, jai, jai.
Vrishabhanu dulari ki jai, jai, jai.
Radha Rani ki jai, Maharani ki jai. So
Radha Rani ki jai.
I love Sankirtan with you.
There was one part. There's one part you used to sing, I remember, and that was Nate Khate ki jai, Bholi Bhai
ki jai.
ki jai.
It's so true. I used to love that. Remember, we used to come up with names of Srimati Radharani and Krishna to put together to insert into the song.
Yeah.
So the next story here is the next story that we're about to say, and then we're going to connect it with parents who have joined to what does this have to do with our parenting. Krishna, Hare Krishna, he's ahead of us. And
I know, I saw that.
What's coming? He knows what's coming. Krishna. And so in this material world, in this earth planet, when Krishna appeared and when Srimati Radharani appeared, there's a beautiful pastime there. Gaura, would you like to tell us this pastime? When Srimati Radharani, yes, you go ahead and say it. I'm not going to give it away, though Krishna already has.
So there's a beautiful pastime of when she was born in Barsana. And at that time, Nanda Baba and Yashoda Maya were invited to come and see the newborn baby child, but she did not open her eyes. She was born blind. Is that the story that you are referring to?
Yeah.
And so then...
It's kind of intense, huh, if you think about it? For Kirtida Mata and for Vrishabhanu, King Vrishabhanu.
So there's the story is that they invited Mother Yashoda and she brought her little baby Krishna, of course, because he was just born. It's interesting how Janmashtami was on the Ashtami and the next Ashtami is Radhastami, but there is some age difference between them.
2 years.
And Krishna came, 2 years difference. And Krishna came and he crawled up towards her. And as soon as he crawled up and he came near to baby Radhika, to baby Kishori, for the first time since she was born, because they said that she couldn't see. I don't like using the term that she was blind because she's the Supreme Personality of Goddess.
Yes.
But she didn't open her eyes and she couldn't see according to the rest of the people. Krishna touched her and she was waiting because she didn't want to see any other material thing. She didn't want to see any other material person. In fact, she didn't even want to come to the material world with Krishna. And he had told her that we must go because Krishna comes to deliver the devotees and to kill the demons. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata vyuthanam adharmasya. To remove adharma, Krishna had come. And Srimati Radharani said, no, I don't want to go to that horrible, that miserable material world.
Yes.
But because Krishna can't go anywhere without Srimati Radharani, she didn't want to open her eyes to see anyone. As soon as he came, then that was the first time that she opened her eyes and
Yes.
she saw her beloved Lord. And that is the goal for all Vaishnavas, for all devotees. It's actually said that before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there was not so much known about Srimati Radharani. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, he uncovered, and this we can talk about something later, he uncovered that deep love of Radharani and Krishna, and then Srimati Radharani was placed near the Murti of Lord Krishna in all the temples. But again, just like we know, and we'll continue, I'm kind of jumping the gun here with how Lord Chaitanya is non-different from Krishna. And can you imagine how much love Krishna has for each and every one of us, for you, for me, for everyone, that he came himself to give us that love as Lord
Yes.
Chaitanya.
And
So
so,
Srimati Radharani, yes,
yes, so you're
opened her eyes.
just, I don't even want you to stop, but it's like when you speak, it just creates so much love in the heart towards the Lord. And you spoke about how Srimati Radharani did not want to enter this world without being with Krishna first. And so we're going to pause here on the pastimes of Srimati Radharani, and we're going to talk about your children who have come
Yeah.
into your homes. They are practicing transcendentalists in their previous lives. Krishna states in 4 or 5 very strong verses how delicately their Krishna consciousness needs to be nurtured. When they're in the womb, in the stomach, in the uterus of the mother, they are being bitten by the krimis, the worms, and they're uncomfortable and in cramped up spaces. And they're praying to the Lord, why do I have to go back into this material world? Have I not made it? Did I not go to your eternal realm? And why am I having to take birth again? And like Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays, my dear Lord, Kita Janma Hoy Yatha Tuadas, Bahir Mukha Brahma Janme Nahi Mora Ash. Even if I have to be born in a low class, whatever family I may be born into, please let it be the family of your servants. Let me take birth in those who worship you and who remember you and who speak your transcendental glories. So as Srimati Radharani only wanted to open her eyes and see Krishna first, we must be very careful to nurture our children who are coming in our homes. And from the moment of conception, we must remember to give them Krishna Katha, as Prahlad Maharaj did in Narada Muni gave to Kayadhu when Prahlad Maharaj was in the womb. And do you remember, Pitaji? I remember when you were born, when Mummy was pregnant with you. This is one of my earliest memories that Mummy would be sitting up against the wall. She would, for hours, Pitaji would be reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita
Yes,
when Mummy
I
was
do.
pregnant.
I also remember that.
Yes, and when our children were young, when your children are young, when they're born, the first thing you want to do is give them to Krishna. My dear Lord, idam namama, idam achyutaya, idam namama, idam shamasundaraya, idam namama, idam prabhupadaya, idam namama. These children are yours. These children belong to you. And establish that connection and the relationship with Krishna first. And so that's the lesson that we learn from Srimati Radharani's immediate attachment to Krishna. And so how can we do that, Gauda? What are the different practical ways from the different ages and stages of life that we can develop our children's natural relationship with Krishna?
So thank you. That was a beautiful description of how we can tie and how we can. It's almost like you gave the answer in the question and also in the description that you made earlier. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, if that makes sense. Like you answered your question while asking it. And that was that how can we make them develop a deep relationship with Krishna? Or how can we make them, bringing us back to the topic of Srimati Radharani, who is the personification of love?
Mm.
And I feel that our children, by nature, since birth. And I have 3 beautiful children, and you're 2 beautiful children in our family. And we know that since they were born, they have a natural love for Krishna. And they have a natural love for Srimati Radharani. And that love factor is binding out us to our children and them to us. So just by increasing that love that they already have for their lordships. For example, when we were little, we were taught that if there's anything in your life, any problem, if you go through any challenges, what do? You go and talk to Krishna. You share everything with Krishna. You tell Krishna. You give that love to Krishna. And that's what we can teach our children, the same thing. And I see it with my own children, that they may look like ordinary children, they may be in ordinary activities, but then they'll say things, such beautiful, deep things like, Mommy, I only want to be with Krishna. Right now, we have coronavirus all over the world, and here in Vrindavan, the temple is closed. We can't go to the temple for Radhastami because of the situation right now in Vrindavan. It's locked. The devotees, we missed Janmashtami. We couldn't go in the temple.
Yeah.
So heartbreaking.
So heartbreaking. So
My
heartbreaking.
children say that they can't even have a concept that they can't go to see Krishna. They say, no matter what, we're going to give in. We're going to go. We're going to see Krishna. And so that feeling they already have. All we have to do is remind them through example in a loving way. If your child has some inclination, I was going to there's 2 ways to tell your children. You can say, I think you need to start reading Prabhupada's books. You can say it like that. Or you could say, I know you love kirtan so much. There's this book I'm reading. You want to, and I was thinking of just giving, I told Ghana actually last week, I said, Nectar Devotion, you're going to love Nectar Devotion because he has all these realizations about spiritual life. And he was like, yeah, I think I need to check it out. So like that. So we found the spark, we encourage and we surround them and in that spiritual environment and share Radharani pastimes. That book that you showed, it's the greatest gift to give to your child for Radhastami.
And so you're saying such important things here. Like first, when you said that our children are automatically, spontaneously, earlier you were speaking about Srimati Radharani Gauda and your eyes were closed like this and you were talking and you were feeling it. And it reminded me of your daughter Radhe and how when she was 2 years old and she would come in my house and she would close her eyes and she would take a random velan, the rolling pin from the kitchen, and she would hold it and she would give long pravachans. She was 2 years old and her eyes would be closed like that. So when you did that, I was remembering her. And same with so many of our children here. We live in Dallas and we see so many devotee children, and my service is to be responsible for ISKCON education in North America, and I'm in touch with different Sunday school teachers and parents all around the world. There are so many Vaishnava children that are being born in our homes, and they may not, like you had said so nicely, you may not see it, right? You may not notice it. We're also kind of ingrained as parents to look at the faults. And so, like you said, we'll say, you really should chant. You should really chant, Krishna, the Maha Mantra. You should really chant some japa. Like, I never see you chanting japa. Or it's important to sit down and read the Srimad Bhagavatam. Or when they're chanting japa, poor kids have finally picked up the japa and they're chanting. You're not saying the Hare at the end of the mantra. Why are you not chanting properly? We have this tendency to turn it into icky and like nagging and brush your teeth. And so that, I believe, would be the second point here that we're making. The first point, at every step, at every stage, bring your children to Krishna. My son, my older one, when he was a little baby, his eyes would automatically open at 4 o'clock. And I felt like this is a Vaishnava coming. He was 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I felt like this is a Vaishnava coming in my home. And I need to make sure he's in his previous life probably attending Mangalarti I better get up and chant my japa. And I used to bundle him and bring him downstairs in front of our deities and then just start my japa. And he would just be awake the entire time. And I realized he's a Vaishnava from a previous life. He's used to waking up at that time, at the Brahma Muhurta time. So many things can be spoken about this point. These 2 points come from Srimati Radharani's natural inclination to be with Krishna at all times, that we want to encourage our children in that natural inclination. And so now we can move to the next, it's 11:30, we have half an hour left. Let's move to your next point that you had so beautifully spoken about how the story of Krishna and the gopis at the Rasa dance, the verse that you had shared with me earlier,
Yes.
Shukadeva Goswami.
Yes, so Shukadeva Goswami, as he spoke the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, he could not speak the name of Srimati Radharani. It was so deeply painful in separation, the viraha, the separation that he would feel when he spoke, because Shukadeva Goswami is actually the intimate parrot. He is the most beloved, the dearest pet parrot of Srimati Radharani, the dearmost Shuka. And so you can imagine speaking Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj at that time. For him to remember Srimati Radharani would give his heart so much pain that he could not say her name. Instead, he chanted the verse which describes who Srimati Radharani is. Anaya radhito nunam Bhagavan Haririshvaraha Yanno vihaya govinda Prito yam anayadraha. Anaya aradhita nunam. By her who perfectly worships Bhagavan Harir Ishvara, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She has taken him, that personality, who only she who worships him personally, perfectly, she has taken Govinda and left all of us. Prito yam anayad raha, yanno vihaya Govinda. She is so great, her love is so great. Govinda has left us, and she also has left with him. That is the greatness of her love. And Shukadeva Goswami could not say her name because the word aradhita, it has the word radha in it. Aradhita refers to worship, which is the same as Srimati Radharani. So even though he tried not to say her name, still it came automatically from his moon-like mouth, from his heart. And when he spoke her name, Aradhita or Radha, at that time, her mercy, as soon as we say that name, Shri Radha, when we say her name, Radha, just like you said earlier, how she's running to serve Krishna, Radha, Rasa Mandala, and Dhavamal. So she's running, dorte, she's running. Dha comes from that word. The same thing happens when we chant her name. As soon as you say Hare or Radhe or Radha, who comes running? Krishna comes running. Krishna comes. As soon as we say Ra, Krishna's ears open. And as soon as we say Dha, he goes running. Who is that person who is calling my beloved? Just like if I call your child's name, if I say Raju, immediately your ears will open up. And then you go, oh, what would you like? How can I serve you? So the same way, Krishna, when we say the name of Srimati Radharani, the unlimited mercy showers within our life. So this is described by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur.
Yes.
in Sri Ujjvala Neelamani.
Oh, wonderful. And this is also, you can continue. I don't want to interrupt you. You said Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and this is also described the rest of this pastime, the details of this pastime, about how Srimati Radharani, now this is a very high level pastime, a
I know.
very esoteric pastime. Very carefully it must be understood what is the purpose
Yes.
of this pastime, and that's why Srila
Yes.
Prabhupada, he explains to us through the lens of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, what is the
Yes.
purpose of Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna's love for each other? And Vishwanath
Yes.
Chakravarti Thakur explains in the Prema Samputa all the
Mm.
details. So one day,
Mm.
this particular pastime that Shukadev Goswami is expressing,
Yes.
where Krishna has gone off with Srimati Radharani and the gopis are left, and the gopis are
Mm.
commiserating and remembering that, oh, she must
Mm.
be so transcendentally elevated that she has gone with Krishna. But then after that,
Mm.
Krishna, he also left Srimati Radharani. And Srimati
Mm.
Radharani is now there alone, and the gopis come to meet her. And they're all just completely enveloped in this pain of separation, the deep pain of
Mm.
separation. And so Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he tells this beautiful story of Krishna in the Prema Samputa. This is to help us understand what kind of love are we supposed to
Mm.
achieve for and strive for in this
Mm.
material world, and with our children, what kind of relationship are we meant to establish with them and for the first 16 years of their life with us. And so
Mm.
Krishna, Krishna loves to change his form, right? He changes his form into so many
Mm.
different ways. He's such a
Yeah.
trickster, nutcut. And so Krishna turns into an apsara, and he comes from the heavenly planets as a Devi, as a beautiful apsara goddess, and he sits in the courtyard and he starts crying. And the gopis, Srimati Radharani are there. What happened? There's this beautiful girl, and Srimati Radharani says, I'm so attracted to her. Who is this baby that has come in my courtyard, and why is she crying? And the
Mm.
story is a very long story where
We
Krishna,
want to hear it.
here, thank you.
Yes.
Hari Krishna Riya Kapoor, Hari Krishna Sharad Kumar. Those of you who are parents, please comment below. Ask us your parenting questions. Ask us any questions you have about increasing your children's Krishna consciousness and devotion to Srimati Radharani and the Supreme Lord and the Holy Name. And so Krishna starts, the baby, we'll say the baby, starts crying, and Srimati Radharani says, why are you crying? And she tells a whole long story about how in the heavenly planets, the glories of Srimati Radharani are so prominent, but that they're watching that every single time Krishna leaves Srimati Radharani, that she goes through so much separation and so much pain. And how can she love this debauchee Krishna? How can she give her heart to him? And Krishna himself is deriding himself in this chapter. He's berating himself, and Srimati Radharani says, no, no, please understand the essence of this love. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, which is then later translated by our acharyas and by our devotees in this movement, in the ISKCON movement, explains that Srimati Radharani tells Krishna, my only desire is for Krishna's satisfaction. And when I am in separation, it is not because I'm missing him. It is because
Mm.
I know that he is missing me. And he is always only able
Mm.
to satisfy my desires. And so he feels distress when he thinks that perhaps I will be unhappy. And this beautiful verse comes right after your verse.
Mm.
Enam punaschiram anekam upalabheran bhangascha sampratikakeli rasasya bhavi sampasyate nahi rasa vinoda nityam tasu krutha nija nijam sadanam gatashu. If I am with Srimati Radharani alone, and if we roam the groves by ourselves, she will not feel the slightest happiness. Rather, her heart will be full of pain, because she will be aware of the possible distress of the Sakhis. As long as she bears their pain in her heart, there can be no pleasure in our union. So Srimati Radharani's one eye is always fixed on the Supreme Lord. and her other eye is always fixed on the conditioned souls, on all of us. And she cannot be happy with the separation, with the union of the Supreme Lord until she knows that she has brought every single conditioned soul to Sri Krishna's lotus feet, and that there is a full unity, just like a mother and a father. They cannot enjoy without knowing that the children are also there with them. And so it is our responsibility with the souls that have been brought in our homes, our children, that we're always bringing them, lifting them to Krishna's lotus feet, that we're imbibing this mood of Sankirtan established by Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and that by lifting them to Krishna's lotus feet, we're also teaching them how to work with each other in a mood of cooperation. And so that point I wanted to make very strongly today on the appearance day of Sri Radhastami, that if we can find the tricks to encourage our children in serving each other, as Srimati Radharani is always in service and always bringing someone else to Krishna, no jealousy, no envy, just bringing others to be better than me. Let someone serve Krishna better than me. How can we do that with our children? How do we encourage a mood of cooperation and service with our children? That's the $1,000,000 question, and what is expected for us as Gaudiya Vaishnavas and as ISKCON devotees. So that's the next point that I wanted to make very strongly here as followers of Srila Prabhupada.
Beautiful, beautiful point. Extremely, extremely invaluable. I think it comes through love and compassion and the deepest love. With Srimati Radharani, it is said, and Srila Prabhupada also tells us, that when Krishna was in Vrindavan, he told the gopis, when he was going to Mathura to kill Kamsa, he told the gopis, he said, don't go anywhere, don't worry, I'm coming back. In just a little bit of time, I will come back, he said. They waited. They waited, the gopis waited, Srimati Radharani waited, Mother Yashoda waited, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan continued waiting their entire life. And when anybody would come or say anything, or if they had any bodily illness, if they had any kind of difficulties, they would say, no, no, Krishna's coming. We're just waiting for him. He will come back. And that was their feeling of intense love. And we can describe it as cooperation because it was bound together with that central feeling. That feeling of there is no one greater in this world to us than our beloved Sri Krishna, our beloved Supreme Lord. And that was the mood of the gopis, or that was the mood of Srimati Radharani. It was just a point that came to my mind.
Yeah, so you were saying about love and compassion with our kids. How can we do this, Goda? It's a question that I'm wondering. How do we encourage a mood of cooperation? This is something that is the hardest thing for human beings to navigate with each other.
Well,
and
especially, yeah.
That Srimati Radharani is not happy without Krishna. With Krishna, Krishna understands her heart, that she wants everybody there with her. She doesn't want to go run to Krishna alone. She wants, so how can we encourage our children to work with each other and become Dasadas Amidas? That in service they will become more giving and they will implement that. How do we, what practical things can we establish in our homes, in our conversations?
The conclusion is we know the answer. We all know the ultimate answer. And surprisingly, the answer to how can we have a perfect life in our homes, or how can we have great relationships, or how can we raise our children with a deep love for the Supreme Lord, it's the same answer. And Prabhupada tells us that over and over and over again. In any book that we read, or any movie that we watch of Srila Prabhupada or Krishna, or any teachings, it's all the same. It's the same exact answer. And it's really cool to have, you know, a little modern or philosophical or, you know, intellectually tickling answer. But it all comes down to, for me, at least,
I'm
two
like on
things.
the edge of my toes. I want to hear this answer.
You
You've
know
given
the
such an
answer.
introduction
And I
to
kind of feel like telling everyone that they have to stick to the end of the video to get the answer. Give them a cliffhanger. But Srimati Radharani was the embodiment of this, and you know the answer. And she came, for crying out loud, I want to say. She herself and Krishna together came and gave us this. And all my friends here in Vrindavan, we were just talking today. I had a beautiful conversation with my friend, and she was saying that this has changed my life, and this has changed your life, and it's changed my life, Gopal. You know that. You know the answer. It's the only thing. It's the only thing we have. And that's Krishna's holy names.
Oh my, wow, you're feeling it so strongly, huh? Krishna's holy name.
Yeah, and his holy names, and singing those names, and chanting those names, and praying to have a taste for those names. And those names changed your life. They changed my life.
Yeah.
And Lord Chaitanya gave those names. Harinam Sankirtan is the only thing. And yes, there's so many processes. There's so many other ways. But I was sharing, and I got emotional because I was sharing with a beautiful friend today, and she told me her story and how kirtan has changed her life. And it brings me back to years ago, where I remember when I was 13 and I had my harmonium, and I used to sit in the corner of the living room and listen to Agni Dev Prabhu with my harmonium. And I think that was like the solution to every problem. I just feel like, oh my God, I got emotional. How did I do that? But Harinam Sankirtan is the answer. And if Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani could come themselves as Lord Chaitanya to give us that solution and to give us that answer, is there something else? So what can we do? We can do more kirtan in your house. Oh my gosh, I got emotional. This is nuts. Um, yeah, Harinam Sankirtan. It's the solution for this age, and I think I'm missing it a little bit right now as we speak. You know, missing the temple and missing darshan and being with devotees and chanting. It's so ecstatic. Continue. You want to take over?
This is no, it's beautiful. It's so amazing to see that your emotion, your deep attachment for the holy name, and this is the essence. This is the foundation for all answers, as you were saying. This is the biggest. This is what Sankirtan is, right? Sankirtan means working together. And you know, I was listening to a devotee speaking to Viraj Swami yesterday. It was Viraj Maharaj's Vyasa Puja, and the devotee was saying that for every problem that would be found in the temple when Giraj Maharaj was the temple president of the Mumbai project, of the Juhu project. They would go to Giraj Maharaj and they would talk to him about it, and he would ask them to wait. And he would go to Srila Prabhupada's quarters, and he would start speaking, he would start chanting japa. And after he finished all of his rounds, he would come back and say, I've found the solution, or I've been directed with the solution. And so what you're saying is precisely what the great personalities also actually follow. That also when you're chanting Harinam Sankirtan, you're bringing Krishna and Srimati Radharani together, and you're bringing
Yes.
everybody's hearts together. Now everybody is working in cooperation. So any mundane, intellectual, or modern technique that may be implemented in our homes for our families, the first number one principle must be that we do kirtan together, that we chant the holy name together, that the holy name is the king of all solutions, of all problems. And so
You remember, yeah, you remember growing up, we were instructed that the wife or the mother or even the daughter, the girl, she should always be singing. beautifully. Do you remember that?
Yes, yes. My
And
parents used to say that to us.
I remember that the singing environment, if we sing Krishna's holy names, just like today, I was quite busy all day. And there was a lot of us in one, like we were all doing things in an area, in one area. And it was a hectic day and there was a lot going on. And then I just took a break and I sat down and I just started singing like a melody, Hare Krishna melody.
Yeah.
And I could immediately feel around the room, there was so many energies, so many different things. People were thinking different things. And I immediately felt so peaceful and so calm. So I feel that way. Keep going.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
So you've established that the biggest, most important solution to increasing cooperation in our children's hearts, to increasing a mood of service, of dasa, dasa, midas, of bringing others to Krishna, of first bringing themselves to Krishna and then bringing others to Krishna is through kirtan, is through japa, is through the holy name. Now, as far as those technical, modern, more intellectual type of
Yes.
practical realities in the home, what can we
Yes.
do to bring our children to a mood of service? We can show them service. We can encourage them in their service by not berating them while they're doing their service. Everything they're doing when your children wake up in the day, whether they're chanting or they're brushing their teeth, whether they're reading Srimad Bhagavatam or they're studying their algebra or their math, whether they're folding their clothes or they're playing outside and making their clothes dirty, they belong to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna. When they were born, you said, please Krishna,
Yes.
accept them as yours. And so we will minimize, as parents, we will minimize our looking at their faults and criticizing them, and instead we will increase our encouraging all of their service. They're playing
Yes.
outside. You remember Krishna Balaram, how Krishna Balaram used to play. And of course, it's important to give some instruction to our kids, but let's minimize our negative interactions with them and let's recognize their service. I really appreciated that you were holding the door open as I brought in the groceries. I really appreciate your help when I'm cleaning the dishes that you're putting them away from me and you're drying them. Let's actually verbalize. We tend to actually verbalize the negative. Don't do this, don't do that, don't see this, don't watch, don't play with that person, and let's actually verbalize our appreciation for their service qualities. The more you recognize something, the more you notice it. Now, I'm not talking about increasing ego of our students and our children. We don't want to increase their false ego. We just want to notice, I see you. I see that you are a servant of the Supreme Lord, and I see that you are acting with a service attitude with everyone around you. And so we want to recognize it, we want to verbalize it. Like, I'm so lucky, I say to my children, I'm so lucky that I have your association. And specifically, how do you do it? There's a technique called the active recognition technique from the nurtured heart approach. And you want to specifically say the specific details of what they're doing. When you put away the dishes while I'm cleaning the dishes, it makes me see that you're very responsible. You're helpful. You're helping your mom. I appreciate that. You want to specifically talk about details. We tend to, as parents, just say general. Oh, you're so smart. Oh, you're so beautiful. Oh, you're so helpful. What is making you think that the child is helpful and serving each other? When two children are playing together, do we ever go up to our children when they're playing nicely together and notice? Oh, you're playing so nicely together. Instead, we won't say anything when they're playing nicely together. But when they fight, that's when we go. And why are you always fighting? We notice when they're not serving each other, when they're not cooperating. And not only do we notice when they're not cooperating, we make such a big deal over it. Suddenly, it's like the biggest, humongous thing on the earth planet that these children have some fault. Let's do the opposite and let's bring out their service attitude for each other so that they become exemplary, become kind of like models, role models as they get older, that this is who I am. I'm a servant of the devotees. My mother sees me as a servant of the devotees. My father sees me as this. Krishna will also see me as this. Srimati Radharani, Srila Prabhupada will accept me as a servant of the Vaishnavas. And so those are just some thoughts I had. Of course, your holy name thought there was very powerful. I'm taking lessons from that.
It just was spontaneous. Srimati
Yeah.
Radharani, she gives us the energy because she's the energy. She's
Yes.
the energy powerhouse. And on this Radhastami, you've given the topic of this chat. This talk is Mother of the Universe.
Yes.
And what's the other part? I can't see it because I'm the entire topic is not. It's called Mother of the Universe, and then
That's all. It says Children at Home show, but it's mainly the Mother of the Universe.
okay. Mother
Yes.
of the Universe, children at home. So I was thinking there's a beautiful pastime for Radhastami.
Yes.
Just let me know what are we do, how are we for time, and what's the
We've got 6 minutes technically. I feel like we can go a little bit over. Go ahead. How about we
okay.
end with this pastime? How about we have this pastime be our ending of this particular episode?
Yes, yes,
Because it is, I want to hear this as a mom and all the mothers that have joined. Let's hear this beautiful pastime let's connect Srimati Radharani so she can give us the strength in parenting our children correctly.
in this pastime, it's actually the pastime of Mor Kutir. You remember we went there?
Oh, yes, your favorite. This is your favorite pastime. And it was my favorite pastime, but then when I heard it was your favorite pastime, I had to find another one.
So Srimati Radharani, I mean, there's so many pastimes. There's another one also, but this one somehow it
I'm like
showed
here.
up.
Go ahead.
No,
I'm
go
like
for it.
here trying to bring in all the parenting stuff, and you're just like in the Radharani La La Land. I'm like, let's connect it. It's a parenting show.
Oh
You're like, I
goodness.
want to talk about Radharani and the holy names.
Aw, that's sweet. I don't know. I'm just thinking Radhastami's
Yes.
coming. And
So Morkatir, please, I want to hear the story of Morkatir.
so actually, I heard this story quite a while ago. But last year we were in Houston during the Kirtan Fest. I think that's what they call it there. The
Oh,
Kirtan.
in Houston.
Houston Kirtan Fest.
Yes.
And that morning I was just somehow, on my phone, and this pastime appeared. It just showed up on my news feed. And it was so perfect because we had the finale Kirtan that day. It was in the afternoon, and the deities were dressed in a peacock outfit. And I went in front of the deities and we were just going to start the kirtan. And here they are in their peacock outfit. And our kirtan slot was from 1 to 2 p.m. So the deities' curtains would be closed while we did kirtan. So I was like, oh no, that's so sad that we can't sing while the deities' curtains are open. But I had just read this entire pastime. So it was almost like they were dancing behind the curtains as we were singing.
Oh, wow.
And so it became an even more favorite pastime of mine after that.
Yeah. So tell us the past.
Should I tell them? Okay, so More Kutir, it's the place where this is the ending, starts with the ending. So Srimati Radharani and Lord Krishna, they have a beautiful Leela. And More means peacock, and Kutir is the temple or the home. So during this time of year, on the mountains of Barsana, Srimati Radharani, she would look out on her balcony and she would see, and even yesterday when we were driving, we saw peacocks everywhere, all over Vrindavan. There are dancing peacocks everywhere because it's the monsoon. It's been raining here every single day, and the clouds are full and the peacocks are just celebrating. And so she just fell in love with peacocks. And Krishna saw that, and Krishna saw, oh, look, she loves the peacocks. And I think I have something in store for her. Like he wanted to surprise her.
Yeah.
So he went to her and he said, oh, Radhe, you are the most beautiful singer I want to learn how to sing from you. Please teach me how to sing. And your voice is more sweeter than the cuckoo or the peacock. So actually, if you give me a teaching lesson, then I can stay with you for a little bit, at least the
Now I
time
know
of
why
class.
this is your favorite song. This is your favorite story.
So she said, okay, I'll teach you how to sing. And if I had a harmonium, I would show you what he did. But she would say sa, and he would say sa, and like this. She would say, no, 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 sing straight, sa. And then she would say, okay, let's try
We
it.
could do a really good we could you can be Srimati Radharani and I'll be Krishna with the notes.
It's such a good. And so then, and so then Krishna would say re, and she'd say no, sa re ga ma, and he would mess up the whole pitch and mess up the whole thing. And then she just realized that he's actually purposely not singing, because he knew that every time he would mess up, they'd have to start over again. And that meant that he could spend more time with her. And so that made her really angry. And so she got so angry that she just stood up and she left. And she went to a beautiful place that is called Man Mandir. And Man means to have anger. You know, it's like pride, but it's like an anger, like rus jana, yeah, risai gayi, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so she went to Man Mandir, which is on the opposite hill of Morkutir, and she performed her Man Leela there. She wouldn't talk to Krishna, and she wouldn't look at Krishna, and Krishna was just so desperate. He was like, oh no, I need to figure this out. I made a big blunder. And I was actually telling the story yesterday. So like nowadays, husbands, when the wives are not feeling so happy, they're just like, oh, she'll be fine. You know, it'll cool down. And they just leave her in her, you know, to do her man thing. But Krishna wasn't like that. Krishna went to her, and you know what he did, right? He became a peacock. To make her feel better, he went on the Morkutir. So Man Mandir is on the mountain across, and Morkutir she could see now. And he became a peacock, Krishna. He started dancing so beautifully. And she immediately forgot all her anger. And she became a peahen. And she went and they both danced together in the most beautiful way, that Leela. So around 100 years ago, there was a blind sadhu, and he lived on Morkutir. He was born and he was raised on this Morkutir. And so he knew about this Leela because he was born and raised there. And so he couldn't see, but deeply within his heart, he would meditate on how Krishna became a peacock and danced for Srimati Radharani, and how Srimati Radharani was the peahen and she danced for Krishna. And so deep within his sadhana, within his heart, he just wanted to see them in the same peacock Leela. And so Srimati Radharani appeared to him in his dream. And she said, I will show you this Leela, but I will only show you this Leela if you paint this Leela so everyone else can also see this Leela.
Yeah.
And he said, how am I going to paint this Leela? How? I'm blind. And because Barsana, it was a very, very deep forest. So he said, how will I get a paintbrush? And how will I get paints? And how will I get a canvas? And how will I paint? Srimati Radharani said, just make the endeavor. Just try. Just take the first step. and I'll do the rest. I will help you. So the next morning, he dug the ground and he got minerals and paints and whatever was needed for the canvas, and he got everything ready. And even though he couldn't see, he was completely blind. But as soon as the morning came, he got divine vision. His eyes opened up and he could see. Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, they both came and they appeared in the dancing peacock dress, the dancing peacock form in front of him. And even though he had no material vision, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena, his eyes were ointment was covered in his eyes, that ointment of love. And he opened the eyes, not these eyes, but he opened the eyes in his heart, the eyes of love that we have in our heart, and he painted the entire Leela. And when he came out of his samadhi, so he was doing all of that while he was in his samadhi. When he came out of his samadhi, he saw the painting.
Yes.
And even today, right now, you and I, you've seen this painting, haven't you?
Yes, at the
In
temple,
North
all the
Korea.
way up the steps. It's the back road to Vaisana, and it's at the very, very top. And we went with Dinabandhu Prabhu quite
Yes.
a few years ago. You were there as well. We walked all the way up.
I
It's the other
remember.
side of Vaisana. Yeah. I
And
remember
so,
it was the first time I had gone, and you go up there, and I didn't remember, Gaura, that those paintings were done by a blind sadhu. That's incredible. That's incredible. What a beautiful story that you have shared today. What an incredible story, straight from Sri Vrindavan Dham. Gaura Mani Mataji is here with us. So many of you are here with us as well, and we thank you for joining the Children at Home show for the GBC at the GBC Strategic Planning Team. If you'd like to see more videos, so many incredible videos on Krishna consciousness to inspire your Krishna consciousness and your family's Krishna consciousness are on YouTube at the GBC SPT channel and at gbcstrategicplanningteam.com. Please do join there. And Gaura, do you have any last words for moms and dads today that are getting ready to celebrate Radhastami with their families and how they can learn from Srimati Radharani how to encourage their parenting journeys? Yes, more Kutir, Krish Sharma. Any last thoughts for all the moms and dads that join our show?
so there was one thing that I did want to share, and I kind of already did share, but I can't emphasize enough of how beautiful it is to bring in that transcendental music in your homes. So I think we were all raised with it. You were raised with it. I was raised with it, and I hear my children in their bedrooms with their harmonium and their kirtan and play the songs in the home. You know, when you wake up, you can press play and let that music envelop the home. We forget to do that sometimes. We just do it for ourselves or sing, and then they'll come. And I've seen with you, I see like Nitai, he comes with his flute, and Reggie comes with his mridanga. And if mommy, as a parent, if we're engrossed in the seva, if we're engrossed through our example, they just follow. And like, I know your children, they listen to Prabhupada's stories, they listen to Krishna stories for bedtime. And Rupa Prabhu, my brother-in-law, His Grace Rupa Madhurya Prabhu, I've seen when I go to visit, he reads to the kids before, and they're grown up. You know, they're like, 12 or 13, I think, when I came, and now they're 16 and 18. And he actually spends time to read. And my children love it when I read to them. And if I'm just singing, they hear me, then they'll reading to them, singing with them, and then encourage that kind of association and encourage that kind of devotee association. I remember growing up always praying. One prayer I had to Srimati Radharani. Well, I had many prayers to her, but one of them was, please give me the empowerment. Please empower me that I can be a qualified mother. I don't know why this prayer would come in my mind, that my children will be your beloved devotees. And they've answered that prayer. I do feel that way. So like you said, fan the spark, find the positivity, love your children, just like
Yes.
Mother
And
Radhi.
Srila Prabhupada's father also, it's a beautiful way that you've ended. Srila Prabhupada's father also only had one desire, that I want my son to be the devotee of Srimati Radharani. And so that's what we're praying for with our children. And if we're able to do that, show our example, immerse ourselves in the relationship of Krishna and Srimati Radharani, bring others to Krishna's lotus feet, teach our children through compassion and service attitude and recognizing that they already are doing this, then we can be worthy of being ISKCON followers. We can make Srila Prabhupada proud of us by increasing the Sankirtan movement and by assisting Srila Prabhupada in his great burden to spread Krishna consciousness and Gauranga Mahaprabhu's message far and wide. And so thank you so much. We're going to end now, and we hope that you will join us again next Sunday. We have another special surprise for you. Please join us on the Children at Home show and the GBC Strategic Planning Team Facebook page and YouTube.
You're asking if you can sing, maybe you can sing one verse from Gopi Gita. I just feel like
you're in the mood of singing right now. One verse from the Gopi Gita. Okay, the most famous verse is Tavakatamritam, Tapta Jivana.
Yes.
Do you want to start? And then I'll go from after you.
Okay. Tavakatamrita Tapta Jivana Kavibhirita Kalmashapaha Shravanamangalam Srimadasatam Bhuvi Grinanti Bhurida Jana. So let's, how about me and you hop over to another channel and sing the entire Gopi Gita. Let's do it. Okay,
let's
we'll come over to
Gopi Gita.
Okay,
thank you so much.
All right,
we're going to join us now at Gopi Gita Schomaker's Facebook page or Gaura Mani Devi's Facebook page.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.